Well, it is some time since I have done one of these videos, and being nearly the end of January, things have changed a lot since the last one I did, which I think was in October. So the first thing we have here is our Fujoa Hedge, which we planted on the 1st of January last year, and you can see that most of those plants have come along beautifully, but there's a few little ones in between some of the bigger ones here. And those are the ones that did not make it through the frost of winter. And we've replaced them. Most of them have been in a few weeks, but this one over here just went in the other day because the one that was there just suddenly died, curled up its toes and died. No idea why, but anyway. So fortunately we had some that we could replace them with. And so that hedge is coming along quite nicely. I keep pinching out the growing tips, and that's helping them to bush up really well. Then if we turn around to here, I think last time there was not much in this bed. The chives were tiny and the strawberries were tiny, and the bay tree had pretty much died. Well, it did put out some new shoots, but then it didn't make it through, so we've replaced that. We've also got some lovely cornflowers, as you can see there. There is rhubarb coming along nicely as well. Now these strawberries have put out runners everywhere, but they have not flowered once. But we're okay with the runners because, you know, they help as ground cover for within the bed. So, you know, maybe it'll flower one day. And there's also some yarrow. Yarrow? I think it's yarrow. Maybe yarrow. There. Can't remember. Yeah, so that bed looks totally different to when you last saw it, and as does this bed over here. Now our tunnel here has collapsed a bit, so we need to fix that up, and there's not much in there that's actually alive anymore. The radishes went wild, and we've been saving them, like letting them dry out so that we can collect the seeds. We had some potatoes come up here. I put them in last year, and they didn't really do very much, and then suddenly one sprouted here and we went, oh wow. Then there's pumpkins. Oh no, I don't think there's pumpkins. There's zucchini, and there's lots of cucumbers, and it seems like one of the cucumbers is a lemon cucumber, which was a surprise. Didn't realise I'd put one of them in. Yeah, so that is extremely prolific in there. In the tunnel we had some Romanesco broccoli that was really good, and there's a whole lot of grass and weeds growing in there now, which we need to do something about. This is a new addition you won't have seen before. We got this second hand. We haven't got any chooks yet, but it's there waiting for when we do, and we'll probably move that around a little bit. Not a lot, because it's not particularly movable, but we might strengthen it up with some extra wood along the side so that we can move it when we need to. We don't plan to have very many chooks at this stage. So along here we've got two big comfrey plants. There's some borage, and then there's lots of tomatoes. We actually had our first tomatoes the other day. They were little rare yellow pear tomatoes. These ones here are mostly Romas, and they're not ripening yet, and we wouldn't expect them to be. This is Walker. Walker is cold, and it takes a long time for tomatoes to ripen. I think the first year we put them in, I don't think we got ripe ones till about April. This is our little Kiwi Berry, which is looking incredibly sad. We do need to give it a bit more love. Yeah, it hasn't really, oops, let me actually show you that. It hasn't actually grown very well at all. Yeah, we need to actually concentrate on that a bit more. Then we've got some really good looking sunflowers here, and also some corn. I'm really hopeful that we'll get something out of the corn, but they're not flowering at exactly the same stage, so I don't know if they're really spreading pollen amongst each other. Anyway, we'll see. Coming along here, we did plant a whole lot of beans, and most of them got killed by the frost. Anyway, some of them have struggled on, and we've had a few beans, but nothing very prolific. It's not been great for us, the beans, this year. I also planted some asparagus in here. I planted 60 asparagus seeds, and I think I got about 52 come up. That was in trays. And then I planted them, and I think most of them got eaten by rabbits almost straight away. So there are some in there. They haven't done very much, but we'll just see how they go. And then along here there is some fennel, which is not looking very good. I've never grown fennel before. No idea what it's supposed to be like. But yeah, it's not looking very happy either. Perhaps if we paid it some attention, it might do a bit better. Then this is our Grape Vine, which has grown quite a bit. So we'll just let that get bigger and bigger as time goes on. And then this is a new little bed here, which this was going to be the goat area. It probably will never be a goat area now. I was going to put goats in here, and I've just gotten a bit scared about the whole idea of goats and fences. So I'll show you what we got instead. So here, this was going to be the bottom end of the goat area, and there's a Australian indigo there that's coming along quite nicely. Can't remember if there was something in there. I don't think there was, no. And then these are little Linicera nititas, and they've grown very happily there. We've also got a nice crop of weeds coming along. Then over to this garden here. This has changed a lot since you've last seen it. So in the foreground here, we've got globe artichokes that are coming along well. There's another one in the middle which is not very happy, but it does appear to still be surviving. And then these three trees here are our cider apple trees, and they're doing quite well. We've got some comfrey there and little white strawberries, which the birds and things don't really go for because they don't recognise them as strawberries, which is excellent. We've got some more cornflowers. There's a curry plant. I think these are yarrow down the front. I can't remember. And more little white strawberries there. So a mix of things to help with pollination and that sort of thing. And then here we've got, let me just move back so you can see a bit better, 2 beds here. Inside the tunnel there's lots of brassicas. We've got a fabulous crop of kale in there. There's also a bit of a crop of weeds which we need to do something about. And then out here we've got some, I think it's Ethiopian collard greens and some Tokyo Bacana something or other, and then there's just some snapdragons as well for flowers. These, oh, and a nice weed there which I need to pull. These were already being eaten by white cabbage moth grubs before they went in, so we never saw the point in covering them because they were already infested. Over here we have our berry patch. Well, we've got 2 berry patches. The one in front's the raspberries and blueberries and those sorts of things. And the wires here have just recently gone on. So we've had a few raspberries, mostly this year. They've just been getting settled in. So we haven't had a lot of berries yet, but that's okay. This is a long-term project. Coming over here, this is my Carob Hedge, and all of these have got new growth on them, which I'm really happy about, and they are getting bigger, so that's really good. They went in, I think in about October. And then up here we've also got an Indian hawthorn hedge, which is going quite well. This is my newest hedge that's gone in. This will be the bottom edge of the duck area and the top edge of the sheltered citrus garden. And these are Chilean Guavas, Ugni Molinae. And they've all got lovely new growth on them too, which is really great. When they arrived, they came in the post. They were not packaged at all well, and quite a few of them had broken stems. So I really wasn't sure how they'd go. It was a bit traumatic getting here, but they seem to be settling in okay, so that's really good. And over here we have our windbreak, which last time I did a video, this had just been planted. And you can see that the old man saltbush is coming along really well. There's some weeds that are coming along really well as well. There is acacia something or other, can't remember which one. That's a purple hotbush. That's some sort of something or other, can't remember. Anyway, things are growing well. They're getting bigger, which is really great, and we can see that there's great progress in our hedge there, so that's really good. Over to here, oops, I nearly trod on the hedge. We have the Persimmon Tree, which has come out into leaf since I last showed you. It hasn't grown a huge amount this year, but I don't know that they're particularly fast growing anyway. We're just pleased that it seems to be quite happy there, so that's great. Then we'll walk over to here, and this is our pretty sad looking blueberry patch. I gave this a bit of love the other day. I weeded it and gave it some sea mungus, and I need to get onto watering it quite regularly, and that will hopefully look a bit better. We had blueberries off it, they were really lovely, but you know, this is a year of where everything's settling in, and if we didn't get any produce this year, we were okay with that. That wasn't the point of this year. This year was getting things established. Then we come further up here, and the first row here in the food forest is our hazelnuts. So there's 5 different ones there, and they're all settling in nicely. They've got new growth, which is great. We've been working on getting ground covers into the mounds. There's another globe artichoke there, which is obviously not a ground cover. We're using a lot of strawberries as ground covers because the strawberries won't get hit by the frost here, which is a really good thing for us. And they will send out runners and multiply and get bigger, and that'll be great. I've also got a Hardenberger. It's a Hardenberger Mima, which is a particular one. I think it's protected by plant breeders' rights. And that one is one that can withstand a bit more cold. So we've put them all on the south side of the mounds because our frost comes down from the north here, because that's the upper end of our slope. So hopefully they'll be protected and they might survive the winter. There's a few other things in there as well, like there's a mint bush further along, and something or other down here. I think that's another mint bush, a different type. Then coming up here we have our serviceberry, Melanchia canadensis, and we had fruit off that this year, which wasn't really, you know, we didn't need it this year, but we got it, and that was lovely. We have another little mint bush, and that's also a Hardenberger there. There's another acacia. So the acacias are here as nitrogen fixers. This one little one here in the middle is a Tasmanian Pep Bush. And then the tiny little one here is another serviceberry. It's actually a Saskatoon berry, so it's in the same family as the serviceberry, but this one, instead of being Melanchia canadensis, is Melanchia alnifolia. Then we have another mint bush. In the guard there is a cinnamon myrtle. We had one there previously, which I think rabbits ate, so that's why this one is covered this time, and it seems to be going okay in there. And that is our elderberry, and it started off looking not very happy, but it's come up beautifully, so it's forming a nice plant there. Then there is a little ground cover acacia there, which will help with nitrogen fixing. Coming further around, and you can see that there are plants growing quite well here in our windbreak. That one there is the old man saltbush, and they're bushing up really well. I'm really happy with them. This is a plant we haven't planted yet because we haven't got it yet. I'm still thinking about what that's going to be. It might be a lemon aspen, it might be a lemon myrtle, but neither of them are particularly good in frost situations, so we're waiting to put that in. Then there's a coria, which looks very unhappy, but anyway, it's still surviving, it's flowering. We'll see how that goes. Our nasturtiums up here have gone exceptionally poorly. I think it's just too exposed for them up here. They'll do better in future years, I think. This is a jaboticaba, and it's got lots of lovely new growth on it. It also probably will not do well in frost, so we will be very careful with it. Coming along here, we've got one of our 2 olive trees, and you can see that there are olives forming there, which is great. We've got mountain pepperberry, we've got a few of them. This is a cousin it plant, which I can't remember what that's actually called. That went in the other day. It is a Casuarina, there we are, which is a nitrogen fixing plant, and it's going to be a ground cover, and they're called cousin it because they form a great big sort of matted greenness, which looks a bit cousin it-ish. This is our pomegranate. We had a different one in there which did absolutely nothing after the winter season. It had 4 leaves, tiny, tiny, tiny ones that formed right at the base, and then nothing ever happened. So we dispensed with that and put in a fresh plant. Sometimes you lose things. We lost that. Another Tasmanian pepperberry. We've got 4 Tasmanian pepperberries, 3 of which are female and 1 of which is male. So without the male we won't get any fruit. This is a locust tree which is coming along quite well. They're slow growing, so I'm pleased that it's growing that well so far already. This is another mint bush, one that my mother actually did as a cutting for me, and it's growing well. This is our Genoa Fig, and we have some figs forming there, which is a lovely surprise because we didn't really expect to get any this year. In here is it's a lupin. You probably can't see in there, but that's being protected so that it doesn't get eaten by rabbits or slugs. Another mountain pepperberry. Then we've got 3 currants, which I think are sunburnt. I could be completely wrong, but they're not very happy, so we need to give them some love too. This one's got heaps of new buds coming on it though, so hopefully that will go really nicely. This is our other olive tree, and it's got some fruit forming on it. This is a wormwood, and it's getting very long and lanky. Probably I should chop that back a bit. Black mulberry, which we had some mulberries that I had done as cuttings from my mother-in-law's friend's place with her permission, and they didn't survive the winter, so we bought a plant. It's got new growth on it, which is lovely. Down here we have a myoporum that went in just the other day. We're trying to increase the number of ground covers we've got on this side. On the other side of the garden we've got a whole heap, and you can see the difference. Now this is our macadamia A4. It's the macadamia that can handle the cold the best apparently, and it's looking very nicely established. At one stage it just had done absolutely nothing, and then suddenly it started putting out a whole lot of new shoots, which was really exciting. So yeah, that's coming along well, and hopefully it will make it through the winter. Up here, this is a fairly newly put in hedge here. It's a Fotinia, get them mixed up all the time. Fotinia hedge, which we know survives the frost really well because we've got them elsewhere on the property. That they were already here when we got here. So I've just pinched out the growing tips of that yesterday, so hopefully it will start to bush up, but it should be quite happy. And then there's a guard right at the end, and that's got a Tagasasti tree in there. Now these are our new additions, and standing up looking at us eating is Reggie. She is a Harlequin mini meat sheep, and sitting down next to her is Zorko, and he is also a Harlequin mini meat sheep. He's not a ram though, he's a wether. We bought her because we can still breed from her. Obviously we cannot breed from a wether, so if we decide to in future, we'll be able to breed from her. We got these about a week ago, and they are here as our lawn mowers. They are meat sheep rather than wool sheep, so it means that their coat just comes off in summer. These are just 3 months old, so they're not got a lot of coat yet, and they will never need shearing. They'll just rub it off on the fences or wherever. So it's very nice to have them with us. We are working on helping them to settle in. They love the grass, they're not so sure about us yet. They did have a long trip to get here, so it was rather traumatizing. So yeah, it's lovely to have them here, and because they're right up the top of our property, they will add their nutrients to the ground here, and when it rains that will leach through the soil down into our gardens and provide nutrients for them. So that's the point of having them right up the top here, as well as eating the grass. Then if we come over here to our stone fruit and pome fruit garden, you can see just how well things have come on. We've got lots of ground covers in here. We put a lot of effort into getting ground covers in, so there's lots of strawberries, there's more myoporum, there's some ground cover rosemaries, so we've got lots happening here. That's a little pear tree. It has not done very much. All of our pears have been hit by cherry and pear slugs, so as have the cherries as well. So yeah, we've just had to be quite vigilant in getting rid of them. And that one's grown quite well. Can't remember what, that's a Bird Anjou. This one here is a Doyen du Comis, not very fast growing. Then at the end here, we've got a Polka Columnar Apple. This here, I'm going to have to go around the other side because that's where all of the signs are. This one here is a Williams pear, and you can see that there's quite a bit of damage from the pear slugs. I have been throwing ash from our fireplace on them reasonably regularly, and my husband's just been squashing the slugs, but we're fighting a losing battle at the moment, I think. We've put in lots of calendulas because they bring pollinators. This is a Granny Smith apple. It's got an infestation of I think they're aphids, so we need some ladybugs up here. Lots of little things on the ground. This is a walking onion. It had tops on it. We've picked them off and planted them, so hopefully we'll get some extras. This is our red love apple, and it's just about to flower again. Not really sure that that's supposed to be happening, but anyway, we'll take it. It's settling in really nicely. Our Comfrey's growing really well. That is a dynamic accumulator. And this here is a pink lady apple, and it's doing quite well. Turning around, now my husband has been waging a war against periwinkle here, and he appears to be winning at the moment. That is fabulous, but that is an ongoing battle. This here is our Wixom plum. It also appears to have cherry slug on it, which I'm not really sure why. It's not a pear or a cherry tree. Pomegranate nectarine. We're new to all of this, so if our trees look diseased to you, they probably are. Definitely a problem here. This is a Stella cherry. She's been attacked. And this is Lappin's cherry, also been attacked. We did have 1 or 2 cherries off these trees this year. So, but we didn't really expect to have a harvest this year. This is a Morello cherry. And then at the end here, we have a Royal Rainier cherry. Coming along further, this here is a seedling rather than grafted peach. It's a Shanghai Peach, and it is looking varying degrees of happy. The newer growth down the bottom is looking a lot better. That's a Lad's Love. No idea what that's going to do or be. There's a Black Boy Peach, also known as an Indian Peach, which I think is a better name for it, and it seems to be settling in quite well. That's something or other, can't remember what. More Park Apricot, looking really lovely. And then coming along here, we've got a Goldmine Nectarine, also looking great. Daikon Plum, or a Prune Plum. It's got very different leaves to the other plums, which is really interesting. And then this is probably our most spectacular tree that's growing at the moment, and that's a Santa Rosa plum. So you can see that's getting quite big. At some stage we will put nets over all of these, and that would probably be too tall. This one here is, sorry, got to go around the other side. This one here is our slowest growing tree, and it was our unhappiest, but it's looking happier now. It's a Sundowner Nectarine. Then we've actually got some fruit here on this Fantasia Nectarine. We only have 2, and that's probably too many for it in its first year, but you know, we just wanted something. This one here is our almond tree. We don't know if we will ever get anything off that because it will possibly just get hit by frost too early in the season to actually ever do anything. And then this is our flamenco ballerina apple, and you can see there is an apple there, which is very exciting. I keep giving it a little twist every few days, and hasn't come off yet. So here we had Bok Choy. That's the brassicas that are lying down there, the seeds. We've just been collecting the seeds. This was celery, so we're letting it go to seed as well. Here we had, there are still some beetroot there. We grew the beetroot just as something to grow. We don't even like beetroot. We tried them. We weren't that excited by it. There were snow peas and sugar snap peas there, and then all of the pod things were Daikon radishes. And I don't know if you know, but all the little pods, when they're fresh, they can be eaten in place of something, say like a pea. So they added some crunch to some of our meals, and as you can see, we're letting that go to seed so we can collect all of that. Here we had 2 rows of potatoes. The bottom row has already been harvested, and you can see down the end there all of the periwinkle, which was infesting it, has been slashed with slasher, as in the herbicide. It's an organic herbicide. And then this row of potatoes is still to be harvested. There's this one plant down here which is still going gangbusters, shows absolutely no signs of dying back yet, so we'll get that when we get it. So that is the main stuff that's happening up here. This goat area will probably become a second pasture for our sheep, so that we can rotate them around the place. So you can see that things have changed an awful lot since I last showed you. We still haven't put the covers over the hoop houses, and that's because we didn't really expect to get much of a crop this year, so we didn't really care if other things got to it as well, just letting the plants get established. So we will cover them over at some point, we just haven't got to it yet. So there's lots that's happened, there's still lots to be done, but we have integrated our first animals into the system, which is exciting. I also plan, I think, to put chickens in there with them, and the idea of that is that they will go through the sheep manure and pick out any tasty morsels, and therefore help with keeping the parasitic load down. So things have changed a lot, and we're really happy with how they're going.